In our last problem, we're using the double angle formula to help us solve an equation where we are given a defined range for theta being between 0 and 2 pi. And we notice that there really isn't anything algebraic for me to do to begin this problem except for the trig substitution of the double angle formula. So we're going to begin with rewriting sine of 2 theta as 4 and then parentheses 2 sine of theta cosine of theta, which is the double angle formula for sine. So that's what I have substituted in, and then everything else stays the same. Well, I'm going to go ahead and simplify the coefficients out front. 8 sine of theta cosine of theta minus 3 cosine of theta. So now algebraically, there's something we can do here, right? So we have that there's a cosine of theta in both terms. So we're going to factor out cosine of theta first. And then so the term I have is 8 sine of theta minus 3 equals 0. And then we do set each one of these factors equal to 0 to solve for the value of theta. So cosine of theta equals 0, sine of theta equals 3/8. So set each one of the factors equals to 0 to solve. And if you can, find the exact value. So between 0 and 2 pi, not inclusive of 2 pi or 0, when is cosine of theta equal to 0? That occurs at two values, pi over 2 and at 3 pi over 2, where x is equal to 0. Sine of theta equals 3/8. That's not a familiar value. So I'm going to first figure out what quadrants I want to be in. Well, quadrant 1 and quadrant 2 is where sine is positive. So we're going to have an angle in the first quadrant as well as in the second quadrant where theta is equal to, sine of theta is equal to 3/8. So since 3/8 is not a familiar value that I would find on the unit circle, I would then have to use my calculator to find the first value. So I do inverse sine of 3/8 on my calculator, which should get me approximately 0.38. So that's the angle measure in radians. So that means this is 0.38. So to figure out, so that's one of my answers, one of my solutions. The other solution is 0.38 away from pi. So pi, we're in radian mode, so pi is 3.14. So what I do is I take 3, so in quadrant 2, this was quadrant 1 value. In quadrant 2, I would take pi and I would subtract 0.38 to get approximately 2.76. So my complete solution to this equation would be 0.38, 2.76, pi over 2, and 3 pi over 2. So whenever possible, find exact solutions. When not possible, use the inverse trig functions on your calculator to come up with an estimation.